Hello, my love. Happy Black History Month. Happy Love Month. Today, I want to talk about Black authors, spotlight some Black authors that I have added to my TBR for this month, next month, and the following month. These authors are from self-help all the way to fiction books. The first part of this, I will cover self-development, finance, psychology, all that good stuff that is nonfiction. And then in the second part, I will cover fiction books that are written by Black authors. This will be romance, fantasy, thrillers, and the like. So if you're not into either or of those categories, definitely use the timestamps to jump ahead or to continue on with the video. First up, I have finance, business. The first book is Earn Your Leisures, or Rashad and Troy, their book, You Deserve to Be Rich. And this book, I would have bought it regardless. Like, I think if you've watched any of my videos on books, I've mentioned I don't really do research on books. I don't really read like what they're about fully. I either find out about it from a recommendation or from the cover. I like the cover or the title, and then I kind of just read the first couple of pages, or based on, I guess, the vibe I get. And so I would have bought this book regardless, even if I didn't know exactly what it was about, just because the title caught my attention, but also because I love supporting Earn Your Leisure. So definitely check them out and check out InvestFest. They have that every single year. It's awesome. I want to read to you what they said the book was about. Deals with the psychological toll of growing up living paycheck to paycheck. Create income building strategies outside of your 9-to-5, from investing to side hustles. Use passive income to put you in control of your time and your lifestyle. Max tax systems and identify legal loopholes to maximize wealth. Navigate family financial drama and find ways to support your community. And so I already like Earn Your Leisure. I like the work they're doing, and I already support them. So this was a book that was a no-brainer for me. So if you're into those things, definitely check this book out. Next up is Fearless Finances. This book here is, so Cassandra Cummings, she's actually the founder of Stocks and Stilettos, right? Yeah, Stocks and Stilettos. And I got her book based on a referral from one of my friends, actually my mom, one of her good friends. And so this book is helping women who are already like good with money, who are already good stewards of their money, and helping them get into like stocks and investing. So it's a very, I think, more specific book, but I think it's an interesting read. I've had this book since last year and I hadn't read it, so I wanted to make sure I got to it this year. So I'll be reading this book. Next up is history and business and finance, still technically mixed up. This book is called Black Fortunes. It is a book I've had for a while, and I started reading it and I just kind of forgot about it. It was in actually my Kindle library. I had bought it many years ago, like maybe a decade ago. And it's basically about 6 different men and women who survived slavery, and then they go on to become millionaires. So it's basically the 6 first Black millionaires. That's what he's talking about in this book. So definitely check that out if you're interested in history of like businesses. I'm very much into business. I'm very much into learning about who founded companies and how they founded it, why they founded it. What problem were they intending to solve, or did they not intend to solve a problem, and then it kind of like came about based on just an idea they had. So I'm very interested in that, always been interested in that. The next book is Think and Grow Rich, The Black Choice. This is by Dennis Kimbro. You may have heard of Think and Grow Rich, or you may have heard of this book as well. But this book is basically, Dennis is taking Napoleon Hill's concepts in Think and Grow Rich and applying them to Black culture, because of what he did like in his whole career, he's able to write from a different perspective and then also incorporate Napoleon Hill's work into it. So definitely check that book out if you like Think and Grow Rich, if you like Napoleon Hill and you want to have a twist and kind of an in-depth dive on being a Black person and applying these concepts to your life. Next up, we have psychology, and this first book is probably no surprise if you've talked to me recently or seen my videos. I'm really into boundaries right now, and I'm actually going to start reading this book today or tomorrow, but it's Set Boundaries, Find Peace. You may have seen Nedra online posting. She always has cute nails, and her hair is beautiful. Her makeup's always lovely, and that's actually how I first saw her. I was like, wow, that is okay, queen. Like, you do your thing. And then I started like just consuming her content. And so this book is up next because my theme of this first quarter really is boundaries and money, pretty much. That's what I'm really diving into this first quarter of the year. So I will have a video actually up about boundaries in the next few weeks. So keep a lookout for that. I'll have one on books and then one on just a lot of the stuff I've learned with boundaries and applying it over the last year and all that good stuff. So be on the lookout for that. Next, when it comes to business, not to business. Next, when it comes to faith, there's a book that I read every year. I actually haven't read it this year yet because I was reading so many other books, but normally I read it in January, and it's Boss Women Pray by K-Shell Kelly. So this is a guide. It's good for the woman entrepreneur, and also just helping you pray. Like, this is a good one if you're trying to get back into prayer in your prayer life, but you're also just really focused on business and you're trying to find that middle ground. You only have, 5 or 10 minutes a day. I would definitely check this book out. I really love it. I really love it. You've seen I've marked it up. It's been in all kinds of places. It's been folded up in a purse, in the bottom of a bag, and I love it. So this is actually one book that I've read on this list, but I wanted to recommend it to you for Black History Month and to highlight Black authors. The next area I wanted to add is relationships. So this next book is on relationships, marriage, divorce. It is called Sis Don't Settle, and it's by Faith Jenkins. She's actually the host of, I don't believe the show is still on because I don't really watch TV, but Divorce Court. I'm not sure if it's still on. And I had never actually heard of her or that show until I had seen her on somebody interviewed her on one of the podcasts I was listening to a couple years ago. And I was like, I need to get this book. I need to get this book because she's a divorce lawyer. So like literally she sees what the complaints are. She sees what the issues are, why people divorce, why people stay together. And I was curious, like, okay, what does she know? And then when we were on this podcast, which I can't remember what podcast, what she was saying, I just feel like I resonated with, and I was like, I want to read this book. Now this book has been on my bookshelf for like over a year, and I just kind of forgot to read it. I kind of forgot to read it. So I'm going to read that now. There's another lawyer I actually saw recently online. I can't think of his name right now, but he also had very good points too. And so I thought that was very interesting to see from their perspective of a lawyer who deals with divorce mostly, how they feel about the institution of marriage, as well as understanding how to possibly avoid getting married to the wrong person, or once you're married, how to do the right things to keep choosing that individual, to choose that person for the rest of your life and not get divorced. So definitely check her out if you're interested in that. The next book I added to my list, like literally from like 2 days ago. I just added it to this TBR for Black authors. It's Date Like Cleopatra. I heard of this book actually through Alexis Smith, one of the girls in our Glow Girls community. So if you are a part of Alexis Smith's her community, or you have any of her courses, one of the girls in the course, she wrote this book. And when I heard the title, I was like, oh, I got to read that. I got to read that. And again, didn't know what it was about, had no idea, added it to my TBR, but I wrote down what it's about based on what I read. But it says, tired of playing by the rules that society has set for women in love, Cheryl Ndune invites you to break free from the outdated good girl paradigm that keeps you from owning your worth and enjoying fulfilling relationships. And so when I saw that, I was like, okay, obviously this book is for me, but I didn't read that part before I added it to my TBR. That's what I mean when I say I go with the flow. This next section is going to be on the fiction side. The first genre I want to talk about is romance, kind of feel-good type of books. And the first one up is Kennedy Ryan's Before I Let Go. You've probably heard me mention this book, which is funny because I never read it. And on top of that, I didn't know what it was about. I literally first purchased it because I just fell in love with Kennedy Ryan's books, the first couple books that I read, her first series, my first series of hers that I read. And I found out what it was about so I could tell you guys, but basically it's two people who divorced each other. It's about them finding their way possibly back to each other. I don't know if they are. I didn't read all into that. I didn't want to get all that information, but based on what she describes in the book is that they're possibly finding and rekindling their love back to each other. And knowing how Kennedy Ryan wrote in her Hoops series, I know this book is going to be good because that girl, like in that series, Hoops, I was tore up. Like my emotions were everywhere. Like this woman writes and I feel like I'm in the story. I feel like I am the person she is talking about. Like I am the character. I'm the main character. So really excited to read this book. Like I said, it's been on my TBR for a while, but I'm reading this year all the books that are on this shelf here. I only have like 5 on here that I hadn't like fully read, but I'm reading all those books, and any of the books that I have like downloaded anywhere, Kindle, Kobo, Libby, wherever, I'm reading them all. Like no books left behind. I'm not buying new books that aren't unnecessary. I'm reading my books. So definitely check out that book, or check out Kennedy Ryan in general. She writes amazing books. The next book is called The Neighbor Flavor by Christina Forrest. I think it's Christina Forrest, I'm pretty sure. But this book, I'm gonna read to you what it says, but I was like, I want this book to be in my TBR just because of the cover. I was like, this seems like it's a cute book and I want to check it out. So I didn't even download a sample. I just made sure I wrote it down to return back to it. But when I was making this video, I was like, oh, let me figure out what it's about so I could tell you guys. So I'll read what it says. It says a shy bookworm asks her neighbor to help her score a date, not knowing he's the obscure author she's been corresponding with in this sparkling, heart-fluttering romance. So I was like, I picked correctly because I like those little cute romances that just feel good, and maybe it will be emotional. I have no idea. But I was like, you know what? I'm going to check out Miss Christina Forrest. So check her out and see if you like that. This is part of I think it's 2 or 3 book series. They're called The Green Sisters. So it's a series. Just like I didn't mention with Kennedy Ryan, that series is called Skyland. And I believe there's 3 books in that one too for Kennedy Ryan. Next up is fantasy, and the first book up is Skin of the Sea. I had saw the cover of it and I was like, what is this? What is this about? And I saw it was mermaids, and I saw it was a Black author because the woman on the cover was a Black mermaid, and so that's what caught my eye. And I was like, I have to read this book. And the book is, I wrote down a synopsis. A woman saves a human, which she's not supposed to do. She's like forbidden from doing that. So it's about her journey of her trying to find redemption or make amends with her sea creator, her sea god. And that's as much as I would read into, because again, I don't like knowing the full story I like to figure out the story as I go and be surprised. So that book sounded really interesting to me. It's a 2-book series so far. It's called Mermaids of Orissa. So this is book 1. So if you're into mermaids, into Black mermaids, check it out. The next up for fantasy is Oathbound. This is a book that I mentioned before. It's part of the series. I have the first 2 here, Legendborn and Bloodmarked. And this is book 3 of the Legendborn cycle. It's by Tracy Deonn. So I've already read the first 2. I just haven't read this one. This book comes out, I believe it's in June, if I'm not mistaken. I pre-ordered it already. But if you like Arthurian legend and like how people retelling those type of legends, Excalibur, if you like just Black girl magic, having fantasy books with a Black lead character, and definitely check this out. I like the way she writes, and I like how in the first book, how Bree's the main character, she's kind of discovering herself after her mom passed away, and I think it's just a very beautiful story. And then hearing how Tracy Deonn wrote that book after her own mother passed away, just like was so not heartbreaking, but it's heartbreaking, but so beautiful. And I will continue to support her work. These next 2 books are historical fiction. The first book is called Take My Hand, and it's by Dolan Perkins Valdez. And I found this book just by the cover, and then I also saw they had really good reviews. I didn't read the reviews, I just saw the stars and how many people read the book, and I was like, oh, let me add this to my TBR. This is just maybe a month ago, and I had no idea what it's about until, like I said, I was making this video, and I'm even more in love with the idea of reading it now. And this is what I got from it. A searing and compassionate new novel about a Black nurse in post-segregation Alabama who blows the whistle on a terrible injustice done to her patients. And it says from the New York best-selling author of Winch. And so I never heard of her book Winch. But when I read that, I was like, oh, this is definitely something I'm into. I have no idea exactly what that means, but I have an idea of what it means. And if you are a Black woman and you've seen the stats of just a lot of things that go on in the medical field, from birth to all kinds of injustices, I can imagine what this book is about. And so I'm very interested in reading it now, even more so than I was when I first put it on the TBR about a month ago. So once I actually read these books over the next 90 days, I will definitely make a follow-up video or write a blog about it. The next book is Black Cake, and it's by Charmaine, what's her last name? Charmaine Wilkerson. I had no idea what this book was about. I literally heard about the show some time ago, and I never knew what that show was about, just had heard people mentioning it. What I understand is a mother passes away, and the inheritance she leaves her 2 kids is, because it doesn't say whether it's daughters or a son, so I'm assuming it's a daughter and a son, but she leaves her inheritance to the 2 kids, and it's a black cake plus a recording. And I didn't read any farther than that. I just wanted to know, okay, get an idea to tell you for this video. And it's a thriller, suspense, has some historical fiction aspects to it as well. So I'm definitely interested in watching or reading it. And then after I read it, I may watch the show. The last book I'm mentioning is a psychological thriller, suspense type deal. And it is called When No One Is Watching by Alexis Cole, or is it Alyssa Cole. And this one is basically about the main character. She starts wondering, like, there's gentrification going on in her neighborhood, and she starts to look up the history of this place that she's grown up in, and she starts to uncover weird things, and she's trying to figure out where are all these people who are getting pushed out by gentrification, where are they going? And I don't know if it's that they're disappearing. I'm not really sure, because like I told you, I don't like to dive too deep into what the story is about, because I don't want to get any, I don't want any evidence or any hints on what's going to happen. It just kind of ruins movies and it ruins books for me like that. I like the suspense, the surprise. So that's as far as I went. But it seems like it's an interesting book. It caught my eye. So definitely, if you're into thrillers or you're into suspense and mysteries, check this book out and see if it's something that you'd be into. And that for me right now is the list. Like this concludes the books I added to my TBR for Black History Month. The reason I didn't make it any longer is that I didn't want to add more books to my plate than I could actually read, because this year I'm taking more time to really savor books and not go crazy with reading and reading really fast, because I will do that. I will come in and just read the book really quick because I want to know what happens at the end. And now I'm taking time to slow down and just savor books and really like get into them. If you're interested in them or if you read them, definitely let me know. No spoilers, please. If you don't agree with the book, or what, you could write that, but just don't write any spoilers to ruin it for anybody else, please and thank you. I will see you in the next video. Thank you so much for watching. If you did like this video, check out one of these videos here. I'll see you in the next one. With all my love, Lana.